Hello, Phil. These are your carburetors. I did an exchange set for you as you'd requested. Actually, have a wonderful set of carburetor bodies here for you. I want to go over a few things before we start. I just had the shot of the temperature gauge. As you can see, it's we got a stone cold engine, so we'll do a cold start here and warm up. Let's see, about the only thing you can adjust on these if you so desire is going to be the angle of dangle of the choke levers, and you'll adjust here, and that can raise and lower the choke levers to line up with your cable coming down. One of the don't mean to do that. One of the toughest things on these cars is to get the choke cable, the choke levers taken care of and working properly. And you can see that one works just fine, and that one works just fine. And you can get through this, like turn it up like this, and then flip it, and you can see how that works like that. And same here. Let's back and forth. So they are tight though, since they are newly installed and fresh shafts. You can adjust this screw to get the angle of dangle down, but we know we got chokes that work here, and then you can pull on your cable on the dash and make sure it's running smooth and lube it up, and then when you run it all together, you'll find that you got bind here because these choke levers are coming up at an arc while your cable is pulling straight up and down, and so you'll feel that kind of resistance when you install everything. Just wanted to let you know beforehand to expect that. Now I'm going to tie these together. Let's see, when you're installing the carburetors, be sure to use 2 wrenches on the fuel line fittings so that you can turn this fuel fitting here while you keep this one stationary. You do not want to rip the threads out of here by just yanking on and cranking on this thing here alone. When you're installing the carburetors, I'll give you the mounting instructions, and just use like a crisscross pattern on the bolts and tighten them up a little bit at a time. You'll find the universal socket, even a 1/4-inch drive universal socket will, or combi will do a really good job helping to install these. Now then, we've got all new throttle shafts in here, all new butterflies, all the machine work's been done, all the mounting surfaces have been machined. We've got new factory gaskets, and you can tell because they're red. And let's see what else. Idle mixture screws have been machined. The second barrel. Oh yeah, we got idle mixture screws here, and that's this guy right here. This is what you adjust when the car is idling. You don't need to adjust these, but this is the screw that you adjust in and out to get the best running of the engine. Since the car idles on the first barrel only, this second barrel mixture screw is not functioning. In fact, we have it machined, blanked off internally, so don't even touch those screws, don't do anything with them. It's a dummy hole, doesn't do anything. Let's see, all the steel parts have got cadmium on them like original. We got helicoils installed here for the air log mounting studs and for the accelerator pump bolts or screws, because those threads will degrade and pull out. Let's see what else. When you're mounting these things, mount them on the intake manifold. Always use brand new factory intake manifold carburetor to intake manifold gaskets, factory only. And then you mount these to where they move a little bit, but will hang in place. And then you stick your big air log on here and get the air log to where it goes off and on correctly and smoothly, and then snug down the mounting bolts. That way, when you can pull the air log off, tighten everything up, and then when it's time to put the air log on, it'll slip into place. Too often you'll get these out of alignment, and the air log won't go on, and then you have to undo all your work. Also, Oh, lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness, I hate that when I do that. Okay, I'll try to remember what I had in mind. Tuning the carburetors. The carburetors are already tuned. The only thing you can do if you want to, you can adjust your idle up and down, and it really helps to have a synchronizer tool like this, the synchrometer, so that you can check your airflow. But if you don't have one of those and you want to adjust your idle up and down, you adjust the idle screws the same amount on each idle screw. They're the same thread pitch, and so screwing them down the same on each screw will get achieve the same results. You'll notice that when you activate the choke, it activates the throttle linkage, and so when you're choking the car at the same time, you're actually opening up the throttle to increase the idle, and that is controlled by a very, very teeny tiny little screw back here. Maybe I'm not sure if you can see it. It's adjusted where I think it should be, but if you if you pull your choke and you don't get any actuation on the throttle, and that little screw is falling out, and that'll make it very difficult to start the car. I wonder what I was trying to think of before. It's frustrating. All right. If fuel on these cars is totally very critical, you need to have fresh fuel and need to have filtered fuel. But if by chance you get any kind of grit in the carburetors and the carburetors will not idle, it's all due to a piece of grit in the G55 idle jet. So you can see that right there. See if you can see them over here. Right here. And that idle jet unscrews easily, and it's got a very, very tiny hole in it, and they will have a piece of grit in there, and you just blow it out, and that's what controls your idle. So you can tell if you need to clean out your idle circuit or the idle jet when the car will start, and you can blip the throttle and it'll race. It'll rev up, but you don't it has no idle, and that's the idle jet is the only thing that controls the idle. Be sure to use the support rod underneath here. Okay, what else? That's good for the time being. Now we're going to do a cold start. Make sure you've pumped up your fuel system using your priming lever on your fuel pump. And double check that. Make sure we got fuel. Now we've got, give it goose it a couple of times. Choke it. Let's see, switch on. Choke it. Now we're going to rev it up and get it warmed up. Waiting for the temperature to come up. thermostat open. And there it goes. You only want to tune these carburetors when you've got warmed up engine. And what we're going to do now is demonstrate our unison, or rather our synchrometer. And you want the second barrels to second barrel butterflies to remain closed when you're idling. And let's see if you can even see this one here. You can see a little red needle. It didn't move. And we want 2 or less is what we want on the second barrels. Move about 1.5. Alright, now we're going to measure our airflow here. It looks like about a little over 5. And a little bit over 5. And we're idling about 600, about 750, 800. So let's say we want to kick it up a notch in terms of, also make sure your throttle linkage is disconnected when you're doing this. We want to make sure that our carburetors are running independently of each other, so the throttle linkage is disconnected. But I keep a hold of this one here, so this, because I got the return spring over here, but not over here. Alright, so now we want to pump up the idle. So let's do quarter turn here, quarter turn here. Now let's see how we did in terms of registering on our meter. It's up to 6 and a smidge. 6. Alright, so you can see that's very close. Back this one off a smidge. So we're running right at 6. Running right at 6. And I got a nice idle about it's idling about 700-800. It's bouncing up to 1,000, but it's not running that fast. It's a real nice idle, I think. Now we want to put our linkage back on, and the point of having a turnbuckle on this rod here is so you can dial it in exactly, and all you do is come along here and snap it in place. Nothing changes on the idle. Still at 6. Still at 6. And then we can adjust our idle mixture screws, which, as I say, will be done for you. But if you want to check them, that's fine. And the idle mixture screws are designed so that what you do with them is screw them in and out until you get your best idle RPM and best running of the engine. So let's say we screw it in a little bit. Idle is starting to drop off. Back it out. Picked up our idle some more. Idle is degrading. I'll do it more so you can tell. Alright, you can tell it's going to pot there. We go back in. Losing our idle. Pick it back up, somewhere in there. And since you got a fresh engine, I believe you said you got a fresh engine, you'll be able to do this to your engine, get your best idle with your fresh engine. But you don't want to do this when you're with a fresh engine, just sitting there, let it idle. You want to flip the throttle quite a bit and get the engine broken in. You don't want to let it sit there and idle. You're lacking the splash lubrication inside that's very important when you're on a fresh engine. Starting to degrade. Back it out. Starting to degrade. picking up the idle. Right about there. We'll come back and check our airflow. I don't think anything should have changed. We're still at 6 there. Still at 6 there. Alright. Got a good idle. Accelerating. Good transition from idle to running, from idle off from the idle circuit to the mains. So I think we got a real nice engine. I think you'll be very pleased. We'll do a restart on a hot engine. Looking good. I think we got you a nice engine, Phil.